I'm often asked what regrets I have in my life. And I wouldn't say I necessarily have regrets, but I do have 5 things that I would go back and tell my younger self if I could. And I think that would save myself like 10 years of making mistakes of becoming a millionaire. Now, look, this video isn't all about the numbers and about the budget and about other videos that I do. This one I'm going to go a little bit deeper because it's advice that I would actually give myself at the age of 18 years old. And right now I'm 46. So when I put this video together, I really looked back and I thought to myself, what would I tell myself if I was, me at a 46-year-old going back and talking to myself when I was 18? Hey guys, welcome to my channel where we discuss everything real estate, finance, investing, savings, and more. My name is Tim. I'll be your host for today. My number one advice to myself is don't listen to anybody that tells you that you're going to be a failure in life. There's going to be a lot of people that tell you that along the way. When I was in junior high school, when I was a junior in high school, I was in an English class and my teacher's name was Mrs. Goodman. And I remember at the time, she pulled me out of the classroom to the side and she told me that the best option for me at that point would be to drop out because there's no way that I would have the ability to pass her class. She put it in a way where she made me believe that I have a learning disability that wouldn't allow me to get past her English class. And that could be right. I mean, I definitely don't have the reading abilities that a lot of people possess. However, my point is this. She told me that I would be a failure. And I remember walking down the hall to the principal's office, I was thinking to myself, my gosh, I'm a failure. And I signed the form, I dropped out of school, I got a job at McDonald's and thought to myself, I'll try college one day. But my point is this, it's okay to fail. Don't let somebody make you believe or let you believe that you're a failure. Just because I failed at high school doesn't mean that I'm a failure, okay? So here's the advice I would give myself. Be a failure, but do it over and over and over again until you succeed. All right, my number 2 lesson to myself, learn about perception and learn about having empathy. So I'll tell you a really quick story. One day I was driving down the road really fast with my wife and my daughter, and extremely fast, way too fast. The speed limit in the area was 45 and I must have been going 55, maybe 60. I cut a couple of people off. I definitely pissed people off. That it was something where if it had happened to me, I'd be really upset about it. Anyway, fast forward about 30 seconds later, there's this guy chasing me down and I had no idea that he was chasing me down. I didn't care. I was heading to where I was heading to. It was an emergency room because I had my daughter. My daughter had recently just fallen on her head. I'll tell you that story in a second. But when that guy pulled up and saw me running my baby from her car seat into the hospital, his whole body, his whole face looked down. Later on, he actually came back and apologized for whatever I guess he yelled at me, said something for cutting him off. His perception at the time, whenever I cut him off, was probably that I was a jerk. So my lesson here is look at the perception. Maybe if you get cut off, maybe somebody's having a really bad day. Maybe they're trying to save their kid's life. That's what happened with me that day. We were at the mall. We were taking family pictures, and my daughter was the very, very top of the pile of kids, right? And the photographer, not really understanding that, you have a 1-year-old kid up there, and she tells everybody that the picture is done, so the kids start moving around, and my daughter falls off the top all the way down, and she hits her head. Wow, that was the most scary thing I think a parent could ever go through. So yes, I sped. Yes, I broke the law. I'm willing to take and suffer the consequences. I'll pay any fine or do any jail time to save my baby's life. But I think that having this perception, his perception changed the moment he realized what happened. So guys, if you get cut off, if you feel like you want to beat someone up on the road or something like that, have a little empathy. Maybe they have something going on in their life. Maybe not as deep as what was going on with my daughter, but maybe they have something going on in their life. And maybe you could be a helping hand. So my advice to myself, don't assume that anyone is out to hurt you. Of course, be very careful, but realize that there could be somebody in serious trouble and have empathy instead of anger. All right, so lesson number 3, have a perspective as to the desired outcome and try to see the bigger picture, not just the money. Okay, so let me give you a little story. When I was young, I just lost my job at a place called MCI WorldCom. The place just closed down, so I was out of job. In 2001, the job market wasn't so great. I just went down the road and I found a not now hiring sign, and they were kind of hiring for car salesmen at a company called Scott Toyota. So lo and behold, I drive in and I get an application to apply. I have no education. I have no reason that they should hire me, but the manager's like, yeah, you're hired. Anyway, I look outside, there's this guy named Joey, and he's driving an Acura NSX. And I'm pulling up in my Dodge Neon that I'm making payments on, and it's broken down, bumper hanging half off. And so anyway, I walked up to Joey and I'm like, what do you do for a living? And he says, I sell cars. And I said, yeah, that guy just hired me to sell cars. How'd you get the NSX? And he's like, you want to learn? And I said, yep. And he's like, I'll teach you, but you got to give up 75% of your income. Now look, I went over to other salespeople who were working there and told them exactly what Joey had offered me. Guess what? Every single one of them, including the managers who were supposed to be my leaders and tell me how to grow, they told me, don't do it. It's not a good idea, that I'm getting ripped off. But I couldn't see the ripping off. All I could see was the NSX, right? So yes, at the end of the month, I made $400. I think Joey made $1,200. Not 100% sure if he made a little bit more, but that's not the point. My advice is don't chase the money, but chase the production, chase your worth in the marketplace. That will bring you so much more than ever chasing money will. Lesson number 4, always think win-win give. Here's what I mean. A long time ago, I read this book. I think it was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And there was this concept that they taught, and I'm sure you've heard of it, called win-win. I kind of developed on that idea a little bit, kind of stole it, made something of my own, I guess, which is win-win give. And what win-win give is, let me give you an example. We just talked about lesson 3, where Joey gave me his knowledge. Now, he took some of my money, no big deal. Money can be replaced. It comes and it goes. But he gave me his knowledge and he kept giving it to me, even after I stopped giving him the money. So my whole point of this is not only win-win, yes, that's a good thing, but always think about giving. Giving of yourself, giving of your time, giving of your knowledge, and giving of your money. A little bit of money, a little bit, 10%, 15% of your gross income. So advice, serve others by passing it forward, not with only money, but with time, education, mentorship. You'd be surprised at just how many people you could personally help. Out there right now, there are kids that you could use a mentor. All right, and the last one and the final one, step 5, speak last. Now, here's why I say this. this is the one I'm currently working on right now. It's a lesson that I learned by reading about a guy named Nelson Mandela. Nelson Mandela was probably one of the greatest leaders of all times. I think anybody would agree to that. But he said that his father taught him the biggest leadership skill was to speak last and let the others speak first. And as I've started to do that with my own company and my own team, I've started to realize there's some really big advantages to being the one to speak last. Number one advantage, you get to hear everybody's perception. Might just change your perception. So think about what they have to say first. Number two, it gives them the opportunity to be heard. I mean, look, we all want to be heard, right? But it also gives you time to process what they're saying and why they're saying it. And it gives them a chance then to think about what you're going to say, because now you've heard what they're feeling as well. Okay, so my advice is lesson number 5, speak last, listen first. All right, anyway, guys, this is just some of my weekend thoughts. We weren't really covering anything news or real estate related or anything like that, but I do think these are some essential lessons that you need to learn earlier in life, the better. That way you can build success, build your wealth, things that you're chasing. Now look, my overall financial goal is to build a nonprofit. I want to help children that were born with birth defects. That's my dream one day, is to become a legacy, to build that. That way it goes on beyond any time that I can live. There are so many children across this country that are born with birth defects, but worst of all, some of their parents can't afford to fix some of the basic ones. So we all have a why out there of why we want to earn money, you know, and I think having that why and understanding that first is going to definitely draw it to where you're going to be able to make a lot more money. All right, guys. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you later. If you liked what you heard, hit the like button, then subscribe, then hit that little notification bell, and we'll see you in the next one.